Yes, Lord. Listen, I like to get into the spirit. It's gonna be a short one, but it's gonna make sense. You know what I'm talking about? That joint gonna make sense. And we are in Jeremiah. The Lord led me to Jeremiah 20. And as he did so, you know, it came and dawned onto me that this was about somebody being accused of being a liar. I'm talking about they was being accused of being a liar. Like, you know, we have our own personal relationships with God. And those that's really tied in and tapped in with him, connected with source, he shows them a lot. Like last night, he showed me a lot. I'm talking about he showed me something while I was recording. You know what I'm saying? That brought me into tears. You know what I'm talking about? It brought me into tears because of how much I know that he loves me. You know what I'm talking about? And it became a little overwhelming, you know what I'm saying, when you feel that, you know what I'm saying, when you feel that real pure love, you know what I'm talking about? You feel that real pure energy of him, touching you, you know. People be like touching you like, oh, he hits you here where you can transmit. This is your antenna. It's the antenna to your heart. I'm talking about. And as he rests there, he gets instruction from his father. And we have to go through him. You know what I'm talking about? We have to go through him for our prayers. You know what I'm talking about? Our prayers get sent on to him, and he passes them along to his father. You know what I'm talking about? But as I was meditating on this and looking into it, you know, they hemmed Jeremiah up. You know what I'm talking about? They did him like they did Christ. A lot of us is getting done like Christ did. Where we get persecuted for no reason. You know what I'm talking about? Just because we different. We didn't ask to be like that. He put us here for a reason, for a purpose, to relive his experience as a human. You know what I'm talking about? That's why he put himself into a lot of us, you know. And the ones that don't really feel him, that got the devil in them, you know what I'm talking about? He chose us to help them see the bright side and come up out of the dark. Now it's on them if they, receive it and take it to their heart, change their ways and seek his face. You know what I'm talking about? It's on them after we done passed the message. You know what I'm talking about? Because we must continue our journey and moving on. You know what I'm talking about? Woo! Yes. He said he took him off to the gallows and dude smote him and told him he was a lie about what the Lord told him. The Lord told him that it was going to be a war. This was going to be something going down. You know what I'm talking about? And they didn't want to hear it. You know what I'm talking about? They thinking everything Shane would lie. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. We ain't worried about the Lord. The Lord ain't told me this, but you know, one of those type of situations. But then we do, in the same sense, have to be careful of where we getting the word from, because it says in the Bible that a lot of people will come across false prophets and different things. You know what I'm talking about? That's why I don't really try to call myself no prophet. I just call out whatever it is that he's leading me to call out. If it come to pass, it come to pass. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the stuff has come to pass. And it just comes at me out of random. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing that I can control. Like I'm just sitting up here and, oh yeah, and the Lord this and the Lord that. No, he hits me differently. You know what I'm talking about? He hits me when I ain't expecting it. You know what I'm talking about? Because he wants to use me at his will. Because I told him, use me at your will, Lord Jesus. I'm talking about. So a message might skip me, hit somebody else. But when it hit me, you know, I have to try to be obedient and get it out. And this one hit me when they was talking about you know, persecuting and smoking and doing all these things, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people that claim to be highly religious and highly ranked, they do that to other people. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to be in a religion. They do it to innocent people that ain't got nothing to do with nothing that they talking about. I'm talking about. And as they do that, they be sitting up there thinking that they high and mighty and that they right. You know what I'm talking about? Without conviction. You know what I'm saying? They taking over God's job of being judge. I'm talking about. And that's what those people did there to Jeremiah. You know what I'm talking about? And a lot of other of the real prophets. You know what I'm saying? They did those things to them. And I didn't ask God to let me be a prophet. I asked him to just let me be his right hand man. You know what I'm talking about? But, you know, I guess he used prophets as his right hand man. He used apostles as his right hand man. He used bishops as his right hand man. He used ministers as his right hand man. He used pastors as his right hand man. I'm talking about man or woman. I'm talking about, and you know, we just have to go with the flow of whatever it is that he's sending us through. You know what I'm talking about? Because he's doing it for his purposes. And his purposes is our purposes. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm talking about? Uh, it's just crazy that how he does those things to just anybody. You know what I'm talking about? He do it to just anybody. You know, this is authentic or nothing. Somebody over there blowing at me. Lord Jesus. But mm, I don't know them joints. I'm talking about. This is authentic or nothing. A couple few essays. You know, I might know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You know, we be getting to know so many different people, you know what I'm saying, as we go along our journey, you know what I'm talking about? That's why it's not upon us to be judging people, you know what I'm talking about? Because we never know. Like, I'll make an example. Yesterday, young boy that I was working with, you know what I'm talking about? I didn't know that he was the one that they were telling me that had the brain cancer, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know that until we got to talking, you know what I'm saying? And we didn't get to talking really until we was almost done, you know what I'm talking about? Because I had, you know, things to do. He had things to do as well. He had to go to chemo that day, you know what I'm saying, yesterday. And it was his first day. And you know, I learned a lot from that little experience, you know what I'm talking about? He learned a lot from me too, because he didn't understand my connection to the place, you know what I'm talking about? He just knew that they'd been talking about me, you know what I'm saying, in high regards. And I appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? And that's why, you know, I'm be thankful and grateful for everything that God does for me, you know what I'm talking about? When you can be somewhere else and somebody is talking good about you, you know, that's a good feeling, you know what I'm saying? And 99% of the time that don't be happening a lot, you know what I'm saying? Especially to those that then set themselves apart, where rather than had God set them apart, you know what I'm saying, from all the people that don't serve them no good. You know what I'm talking about? People that leave you stagnant, people that have you doing dumb stuff, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. People that just want to sit around and leech off you, people that just want to see chaos and drama in your life, you know what I'm talking about? Me, I'm a different type of joint, you know what I'm saying? I sit quiet in my cave and mind my business, you know what I'm talking about? And like I said, I run across a bunch of different people, you know what I'm saying? I just ran across some people, some more Mexican people, you know what I'm talking about? You know, couldn't speak a lick of English, but they know who I am. You know what I'm talking about? And that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm talking about? That is a beautiful thing. Because they said my name. You know what I'm saying? They said my name but couldn't speak no English. You know what I'm saying? So we had to converse, you know what I'm saying? And yes, Lord, you know, get a little kid $1 and, you know, I holler. You know what I'm talking about? Lord Jesus. Yes, it's 11:11. Look at that, boy. Look, I've been catching. And that's another thing, you know, I've been catching angel numbers left and right. You know what I'm talking about? Been catching angel numbers left and right. And God been hitting me left and right. You know what I'm talking about? He just been on me, you know what I'm saying, to steadily keep going forward. You know, I got to converse with some of the people on here, you know what I'm saying, that subscribed to me last night. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we miss each other, you know what I'm talking about, and they catch me a little bit later on, you know what I'm talking about. But that was a beautiful feeling there too, you know what I'm saying? And it was like that and some other things that I was thinking about, and then what God started showing me while I was recording last night, it just brought me to tears. It had me emotional, you know what I'm talking about? And there ain't nothing wrong with a man being emotional, you know what I'm saying, and showing their softer side, you know what I'm saying? That don't mean that they soft, but it means that they do have integrity, they do have a heart, they do, you know, care. You know what I'm talking about? You know, because a lot of people, you know, the perception of it is, oh man, don't supposed to cry, don't supposed to show emotions, you know what I'm saying? Especially coming from the hood, you know what I'm talking about? And you know, what's that? You a man, you can take it type of deal, you know what I'm talking about? But that ain't the case. That's not true. That's a misconception, you know what I'm talking about? And it's also abuse. You know what I'm talking about? It's abuse on a different level. You know, a lot of us get abused that way, you know what I'm saying? And then a joint will run around and wonder what's wrong with it. You know what I'm talking about? When we can't express ourselves, when we can't be ourselves, when we have to be put on a certain platform or whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm talking about, in a certain genre, instead of letting us be ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And I told God, you know, please let me always be myself. You know what I'm talking about? I want, just like the name of this here ministry, you know what I'm saying? Authentic nothing. I want the real. You know what I'm talking about? I went to him because I know he the light. You know what I'm talking about? I like to see. So of course I'm gonna go to the light. You know what I'm talking about? And he let me see a whole bunch of things that I never thought that I would see in my life. You know, I lived through a lot of different historical things that I never would have thought would have came to pass. You know what I'm saying? Because I was born when Ronald Reagan was in the joint. You talking about Ronald Reagan was in the joint. You know, and you know, I remember watching TV with my great grandma and seeing him on the TV. You know what I'm saying? Him and his wife, and like, you know, thinking in my head, this is it. You know what I'm talking about? And you know, I never wanted to be in his position, and I still don't. You know what I'm talking about? Because I really truly believe that's where God's supposed to be. He's supposed to be in that position. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I'm in the spirit right now. It's like, you know, the Constitution is a book of spells. You know what I'm talking about? They don't like people talking about that. You know what I'm talking about? And really spitting the facts of it. You know what I'm talking about? It's a nice Mustang. You know, they don't really like hearing somebody speaking the truth on what it really is. It's a book of bondage. Everything is something to be bound to something else. And they use it to bind us, to bind people. You know what I'm talking about? So when we be running around here talking about, oh, we free, this and that and the third, if you done accepted anything from them, you know what I'm talking about, you ain't free. Because they trying to bind you with that book of spells. You know what I'm talking about? It's a magic to it, you know. And I started discovering that around about 2013, you know what I'm saying, as I started getting really enlightened around 2012, you know what I'm saying, when he slapped me upside the head with the Bible, you know what I'm talking about? God slapped me like, wow, boy, wake up. Look at this. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, 2013 rolled around. I'm like, looking at different things, you know what I'm saying? And I know different people, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Alice Cooper, you know what I'm saying? And I seen a video of one of his, what would you call it? Music partners or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? And people in this group. And they were talking about spells and binding and doing all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? It was like a 6 hour long video, you know what I'm talking about? And I ain't never seen that since. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't never seen nothing like that since. And I done lost the deal, you know what I'm talking about? Throughout the years, moving and different things. And you know, it really stuck in my head right there. And then as I started going along on my journey, you know what I'm saying, and having to deal with that, you know, confront it head on because of the things that happened to me in my lifetime. You know, it just further confirmed it. And then, you know, like I said, the most recent things confirmed it even more, you know what I'm saying? That people really try to pull it, you know what I'm talking about? They really try to pull those things on you. You know what I'm talking about? They be trying to manipulate situations to where they try to steal your spot. They try to steal your light. You know what I'm talking about? And the devil puts it in them to make them think that that is possible, but it's really not, because we only allow so much power to the devil. We don't give him no power. He don't have no authority over us. God left us dominion and his peace. And you know, the devil is the author of confusion and chaos. So he didn't leave the devil to us. You know what I'm talking about? He left the earth to us. And the devil is part of the earth because he is part of the Garden of Eden. You know, that's why they say that he's in hell. You know what I'm talking about? Like inside of something. You know what I'm saying? So as you think about it, we are dirt and we walking on the dirt. Look at how much death we walking on where Satan was sent. You see what I'm saying? I think about things like that, you know, and it really intrigues me to go deep into thought about, you know, man, what was here in this exact spot where I'm sitting at before I got here. You know, what energy is lingering here? You know what I'm talking about? That might try to attach itself on to me. I got a phobia about things attaching on to me that I don't think is no good to me. You know what I'm talking about? I got a phobia about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, germ free. You know what I'm talking about? You know, and that goes the same thing with, you know, people that lay their hands on you. You know what I'm talking about? Especially in the churches and different things. You know, because we go in those places and they're open and they're supposed to be there so that you can go there and get your demons off you. So we actually walking into a building full of demons. So we have to be careful and aware of things that's going on around us while we're there. You know what I'm talking about? Because every demon is different. You know what I'm talking about? And there's millions of them, just like it's millions of angels. You know what I'm talking about? We only know just a few, the name brand ones. You know what I'm talking about? You get down to it, it's a lot. I'm talking about it's a lot. But let me get off into this book. You know what I'm talking about? It says, moreover, I will deliver all the strength of this city and all of the labor thereof, and all of the precious things thereof, and all the treasures of the king of Judah will I give unto the hands of their enemies. You know, that was him, Jeremiah was trying to tell the people that these joints is finna try to come and plunder and do these things to them while they sitting there, you know what I'm saying, unaware. And that's because God gave him a revelation. But more likely because of how he looked, maybe even how he talked, maybe even how he dressed, they didn't believe him. You know what I'm talking about? They didn't believe him at all. So they threw him in jail because they thought he was mad, crazy, and trying to cause a riot or something. You know what I'm talking about? And just for him to get set free, because just like he said, the Lord is with me. The Lord was with him. The Lord is with us. I'm talking about when we be speaking the truth, the Lord is with us. He's putting it in us to put it up out of us. I'm talking about he's flowing it through us, currency. I'm talking about, and you know, he had to get set free because you know he was in the right, they were in the wrong. They mishandled him, they misjudged him. You know what I'm talking about? They actually fumbled him because if they would have taken heed, a lot of that stuff could have been avoided. But it was already written. You know, God already orchestrated it to be written because he wanted to know who was going to be faithful, who was going to be a foe. I'm talking about Jeremiah was faithful and obedient by speaking those words, but then they tried to discourage him by putting him in jail, by exiling him. You know what I'm talking about? Until God came and exonerated him. I'm talking about that was his best vindication, the Lord's medication. You know what I'm talking about? He fixed it. He is our doctor. You know what I'm talking about? He fixed things. Says, will I give unto the hands of my enemies? And it's a confirmation. You know what I'm talking about? Sirens just won't go off right now. And it says, Lord Jesus. He started messing with me earlier with the little boy that I gave $1 to. You know what I'm talking about? Which shall spoil them and take them and carry them to Babylon. See, they took these people from out their land and used their dominion over them instead of over the land. I'm talking about they did that so they could use their dominion over the land. They removed those people. They hurt them. They punished them for being who they are. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what people try to do to us now today. They try to remove you from your situation. You know what I'm talking about? They try to remove you from your situation. That's how we end up with these karmics and counterfeits. You know what I'm talking about? They be trying to remove you from your situation and come in on your territory, you know, and don't understand that God is with you. God orchestrated these things. You know what I'm talking about? God did that. You can't undo what God has already done. It is already done. It's already written. You know, you might cause a little chaos. You might cause a little confusion, but in the end, it shall be the way he wanted it to be. You know what I'm talking about? You know, we have to be careful of that, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, for a long time, I was hemmed up with one. You know what I'm talking about? A hidden enemy. You know what I'm talking about? Just hidden in plain sight right there in my face. That's because I didn't ask God for her. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't ask God for her. You know, when I prayed and I asked God for somebody, you know, he heard me. You know what I'm saying? And I thank him. You know what I'm talking about? I thank him. I really truly thank him. Because if it wasn't for him, you know, I had different plans. But we can't lean on our own understanding. And come on. You know, and my plans was, you know, it would really keep me more protected the way I feel it would. You know what I'm talking about? But as he hearkened with his ear, my prayers, he is fixing things to where I'm still gonna be protected because I came to him with my prayers. You come out instead of doing what I was gonna do, you know. And that's another beautiful thing. I tell you, what he was showing me yesterday was something just out of the blue, but it was beautiful. You know what I'm talking about? And later on, I'm gonna try to explain it and put it into words more better because I'm still thinking about it because it had me in my feelings. You know what I'm talking about? It had me in my feelings, and that's just a little bit what I'm talking about right there. But then says, and thou, Pashur, and all that dwell in thine house shall go into captivity, and thou shalt come to Babylon, and there thou shalt die, and shalt be buried here, thou and all thy friends to whom that hast prophesied lies. You see, they went on a witch hunt because they thought that them people were doing magic and different things like that. But they were the ones that were doing it because they were sacrificing people and using their blood and doing all kind of rituals around them, you know what I'm saying? Whether they knew it or not, you know, more than likely they knew it because they felt like they had the authority to take those people out. When God stepped in, he slew all of them for slewing all of them. You know what I'm talking about? Says, and they were a smaller number than those joints. You know what I'm talking about? Says, O Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily. Everyone mock of me. You know, that was Jeremiah going, you know, going back to the Lord. He's taking it back to the Lord. That's where one of the things of that saying, take it back to the Lord, take it to the Lord. You know what I'm talking about? Because when he hit us with something, we know for sure because we didn't question it. You know what I'm talking about? Like, Lord, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Are you serious right now? You know what I'm talking about? Like, and, you know, he'd be like, yes. You know what I'm talking about? So then you sit there and you like, man, you be wanting to say something, but then, you know, this is authentic or nothing, boy. You want to say something, but then you might end up as a part of a witch hunt. You know, just like I said, that the tornadoes was gonna come from the south, or tornadoes, hurricane, or something. I know it was some high, crazy winds. You know what I'm talking about? And one of my cousins ended up dying. He was one of the 26 people that died in Mississippi, and from the tornadoes and things. You know what I'm saying? And I had been saying that since the beginning of the year. You know what I'm saying? And this too right here. You know, they say the power of life and death lies in the tongue. You know what I'm saying? And that's another reason why I hold things in and don't say it right away because I don't want to speak nothing into existence because I only want to speak good and positive things into existence. You know what I'm saying? That's why I speak the Lord's name a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to speak him into persistence, into existence with persistence. You know what I'm talking about? I want to manifest him. If I manifest him, then I know that I'm well taken care of. People around me is well taken care of. You know what I'm talking about? So I keep his name in my mouth. Lord Jesus. You know what I'm talking about? And it says, they mocked him. That's why they went and locked him up. You know what I'm saying? They took him off the market because they didn't want nobody else to incite anybody else to where they get to tripping and grabbing arms and being ready for the thing. You know what I'm saying? And that was them handing themselves over to the enemy. You know what I'm talking about? By not listening to the word of the Lord. Just because it didn't come straight from him. It didn't come from someone that looked it like him. It didn't come from someone that acted like him. Because Jeremiah probably was a joint. You know what I'm talking about? Probably where they got that song. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. He probably was hopping around doing his thing, and then guys started hitting him, and he's like, "Oh, hey, look, this is finna happen." You know what I'm talking about? And them joints was like, they was used to him being a certain way. But then when he started talking like that, it was like, "Oh no, bro, you something wrong." You know what I'm talking about? We gotta come here, boy. You know what I'm talking about? When snatched him up, says, "For since I spoke, I cried out. I cried violence and spoils because of the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me and a concern daily." See, he'll hit you with things and it will repeatedly come. It will repeatedly come. Tomorrow. And that's how you know that whatever it is going to come to fruition. Just like I just got through explaining, he had been showing me. First, I had a dream. You know what I'm saying? And this was last year. This was like right before Christmas. I had a dream that I was in Oklahoma, you know what I'm saying? And I've been there before and I don't remember where that place was in my dream, but I remember my dream making me think that it was Oklahoma. This is authentic enough. Listen, but I had that dream and then he started showing me visions of it. And then, he led me to say this gonna come from the south to the north. It's gonna run along the east. And it's still not done yet. You know what I'm talking about? It's still not done yet. Something big is finna happen. And like I said, I don't like speaking ill things into the air. I speak a prayer right now that it don't happen. But I have no control over none of that stuff. We have to take that to the Lord. Like you said there, take it to the Lord Jesus. Oh, we just have to pray for this world. You know what I'm talking about? We have to pray for this world. And that don't mean that we have to be bothered with everything of this world because we're not of this world. You know what I'm talking about? We just here in it. But at the same time, it never hurts for us to say a prayer over this piece of dirt that we sitting on. You know what I'm talking about? It says, "Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more of his name." You see, and that's what they try to do. They try to discourage you. They try to discourage you when he gives you a word. You know what I'm talking about? So that you no longer want to be a part of whatever it is that God has planned for you. They try to discourage you. That's when you have to use your discernment and know that he is the Lord. keep following him, you know what I'm saying? Because he's always fighting for us behind the scenes, you know what I'm talking about? He fought for Jeremiah behind the scenes and got him up out of that gallows, you know what I'm talking about? They're going to put that man to death. You know what I'm talking about? Just for speaking his name. You know what I'm talking about? And that just hit me again, just, about people speaking your name. You know, some people will speak your name in kindness and grace and mercy. Then other ones will speak your name in disgrace, shame, and hate. You know what I'm talking about? And those are the people that he wants us to be set apart from, you know what I'm saying? He don't want us to have nothing to do with those type of people, you know what I'm talking about, no matter who they is, you know. And because the devil could use anybody, just like God can use anybody. It's all about what those people choose. You know what I'm talking about? If they choose to walk in the dark or if they choose to walk in the light. Joint. Lord Jesus, this is authentic enough, boy. I tell you what, he finna make me smile here in a minute. I already know. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it. It says, Lord Jesus. It says, no more distractions. Lord Jesus. Focus. I'm talking about. It says, you gotta be aware out here. You know what I'm talking about? You gotta be aware out here. It says, as a burning fire, shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay, for I heard the defaming of many fears on every side. Report, say they, and we will report it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? They'll run back to their little pecking order. You know what I'm talking about? They go from Joe Blow to Betty Sue to Betty Sue. You know what I'm talking about? And talking about you and gossiping. Instead of speaking the gospel, they gossiping. You know what I'm talking about? And it says, all my familiars watched for my halting, saying, peradventure he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him. You know, that's them praying that you give in. You talking about and say, oh well, yeah, no, maybe I was dreaming and tripping. You know what I'm talking about? I ate some, back then they had the bread that sat out, you know what I'm saying, too long. When it did, it gave them when it made them go crazy, you know what I'm talking about? So yeah, man, I probably ate a bad piece of bread or something, you know what I'm talking about? Because they didn't want to get persecuted for speaking the truth, for speaking the Lord's truth. Come on. And we shall take our revenge on him. And that's what they did when they locked him up. They were trying to take their revenge out on him because either he was giving away the plan or they didn't believe in his plan. You know what I'm talking about? Said, but the Lord is with me as a mighty, terrible one. Therefore, my persecutors shall stumble. And see, that's what happened. They ended up stumbling and had to let him go. Then the plundering and carrying on went on. You know what I'm talking about? It says, they shall be greatly ashamed, for they shall not prosper. Their everlasting confusion shall never be forgotten. You see, it sent them into a state of confusion. I'm talking about No, this is authentic connect, Miss Joint Trump. And as they sent him into a state, they sent him into a state of confusion because now, after he done prophesied and said what he said, and then God came and saved them, they didn't know what else to do because they like, man, well, so and so said this too, and so and so said that, and you know, that's why they have to use their discernment. People have to use their discernment on those type of things. And come out. It's one of those, if it didn't come from the horse's mouth type of situations. And we have to even now look at the parables that comes, because the things that we say, the devil is watching us along with the Lord. You know what I'm talking about? And the devil loves to twist things. So we have to speak in parables sometime, just like the Lord did when we are speaking truth. You know what I'm saying? When we are expressing what it is that God has put on our hearts. It says, but oh, Lord of hosts, that tries the righteous and seest the reins and the hearts, let me see thy vengeance on them. So, he prayed. He's like, Lord, you done saved me from these people. I know you're going to get your wrath down. You know what I'm talking about? I know you're going to put your wrath down. You talking about? Because they over there tripping, Lord. You know what I'm talking about? They tripping, Jesus. And we don't want none of our other brothers and sisters to go through none of that. You know what I'm talking about? So then it says, for unto thee have I opened my cause. It says, sing unto the Lord praise, yea, the Lord, for he hath delivered the soul of the poor from the hands of the evildoers. And see, that's probably one of the reasons why they didn't want to listen to Jeremiah, because they looking at him like, oh, you a bag of bomb. You know what I'm saying? You ain't nothing but a bomb. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no status. You don't have no, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no camel in your driveway. You know what I'm talking about? All this craziness. You know what I'm talking about? And he delivered him. You know what I'm saying? He saved his soul. You know what I'm talking about? Because he did his work for him. He expressed what it was that God had let him see to warn those people. You know what I'm talking about? He did his job. So it says, cursed be the day wherein I was born. Let not the day wherein my mothers bare me be blessed. Cursed be the man who brought tidings to my father, saying, a man child is born unto thee, making him very glad. And that's what they be doing too, you know what I'm saying? They be like cursing the day that you were born, because they already see, it's some people that see things too. You know what I'm talking about? So they had cursed the day that you were born. You know what I'm talking about? You ever heard somebody say something like that? I cursed the day that you were born. You know what I'm talking about? And, they really be meaning it. And like I said, and like it said, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So it be people that's so hateful when they say things like that, that curse will linger on around you and you don't know nothing about it. You know what I'm talking about? Until you start finding out about it. It been passed on from generation to generation to generation throughout their bloodline. You know what I'm talking about? To where they still trying to curse the day that you were born, because they knew that something great was going to come from up out of you. You know what I'm talking about? You are that something great from your bloodline. You know what I'm talking about? So, we have to cancel and rebuke those type of curses over our lives. You know what I'm talking about? Because it is not our portion to be cursed. Our portion is to be blessed because God blesses men and women who's obedient to him. You know what I'm talking about? And Jeremiah was being obedient. He did the Lord's work. He did what he was told to do and prophesied those things that were going to come and happen, and they went through. I'm talking about it happened, and there wasn't nothing really them joints could do about it but to fall and call on the Lord to come and save them. But they were warned. And see, that's a lot of the things that we go through when we have to take heed to warnings on things. I'm talking about, we call those red flags. And once we get shown these things, we just like fire. We know that if we touch fire, that it's hot and we're gonna get burned. I'm talking about. See, a lot of people, they still don't believe fat meat is greasy. That's why I say I pray a burning hedge of fire around me and my family. You know what I'm talking about? So that anything that try to reach in that don't mean us no good get burnt. But it's still joints that still try to reach in. You know what I'm talking about? But as we are surrounded by that burning hedge of fire, we also are pleading the blood of Jesus over us too. You know what I'm talking about? So we are protected and preserved. You know what I'm talking about? That's why a lot of us, we be older, but we look younger. You see what I'm saying? I still be getting carded if I go and get some stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't got nothing like that in a long time. But a joint is still trying to card me. You know what I'm saying? Because they think I'm young buck or something. You know what I'm talking about? He preserving me, even though I've been through a whole bunch. He's still preserving me for whatever it is that he wants me to do. You know what I'm talking about? And I obey. You know what I'm talking about? It says, and let that man be as the cities which the Lord overthrew and repented not. You know, that's Babylon and Egypt and all those places. You know what I'm talking about? He said, let that man be like that. You know what I'm saying? Because, they were glad that they cursed that baby. You know what I'm talking about? They were glad. They rejoiced in it. You know what I'm talking about? Ooh, Lord, I was thinking of nothing. He says, and let him hear the cry in the morning and the shouting at noontide, because he slew me not from the womb. You see, that was Jeremiah saying, you know, I was saved from the womb because he could have been killed in one of those wars that were going on. Just like Jesus, just like they took Mary, you know what I'm saying, to safety so that she can give birth. And that's a lot of us. You know what I'm talking about? He made it a way that we could come into this world safely, even though we go through a lot of different things. Oh, yes, Lord. I don't know what happened there, but check it out. It says, wherefore come I forth out of the womb to see labor and sorrow, that my days should be consumed with shame? It's like, no. That's why God exonerated him, because he seen how much struggle, heartache, and pain that Jeremiah went through. He gave Jeremiah that task of prophesying to the people so that they be prepared and aware of what the evildoers in the world at that time were up to and plotting. You know, this is authentic or nothing. Uh, we'll buck in, and I'm gonna holler at y'all later on, my friends. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.